I'm divorcing my wife after finding out that my son is not mine. Hello, Reddit Eyes Plus here. It all started when I went to visit my sister-in-law, eager to see how she was doing after the birth of her first child. I wasn't expecting anything more than a simple visit, but what she told me turned my world upside down. We were sitting in her cozy living room, the baby asleep in her arms, when she suddenly looked at me with guilt in her eyes. I could feel the tension building as she hesitated before speaking. Then, she dropped the bombshell. 6 years ago, my wife, my partner, the mother of my son, confessed to her that she had slept with her best friend while drunk. She was so sorry, her sister said, but those words felt hollow, echoing painfully in my mind. The room seemed to close in on me as I held my son, a boy I had loved and raised. Panic surged through me as I realized the implications. Could he really not be mine? My hands shook as I excused myself and left her house. On the way home, I couldn't shake the gnawing doubt, so I drove straight to a clinic to get a paternity test done. The following week was hell. I tried to carry on as if everything was normal, but inside I was crumbling. When the results finally came in, confirming my worst fears, something inside me broke. Suddenly, the boy I had always seen as my son felt like a stranger, a painful reminder of the betrayal that had been festering for years. That night, after our son was asleep, I confronted my wife. The moment was tense, the silence between us like a ticking bomb. She knew something was wrong the moment I walked into the room, but when I revealed what I knew, her face turned pale. She didn't even bother denying it. Instead, she asked who told me, but I didn't care to protect her from the truth. I simply told her, it doesn't matter. I couldn't hold back anymore. I asked for a divorce, something I never thought I'd do. She broke down, swearing she'd been faithful ever since that night, but her words felt like poison, every syllable laced with excuses. She blamed the alcohol, but I could only see her betrayal. My anger boiled beneath the surface, but I kept it in check. I couldn't afford to lose control, not with the divorce looming. When she threatened to fight for full custody, something in me snapped. I told her, cold and detached, that I wanted nothing to do with a child that wasn't mine. I'd keep the dogs, the only beings left in this house who hadn't betrayed me. Her face crumpled as she tried to convince me to stay, to be the father that our son needed. But I couldn't. The rage and hurt exploded out of me, and I yelled for her to take her bastard and leave. That was a week ago. She's been staying at her parents' house ever since, and I've been here, alone, in the house that my parents gave me. A house that was supposed to be filled with love and laughter. Now a hollow shell of broken dreams. She hasn't called, and honestly, I'm relieved. The memory of her betrayal is still too fresh, too painful. My father told me I did the right thing, that no man should raise another man's child unknowingly. And while I agree, the pain is still there, a dull ache that won't go away. My younger brother suggested I write about it, maybe to find some catharsis. My therapist, who I see 3 times a week now, says I've already taken the hardest step by walking away. But it doesn't make the loss of my family any easier to bear. As for my sister-in-law, she claimed she told me out of guilt, that seeing me so happy with my son while knowing the truth was eating away at her. Maybe that's true, or maybe she just couldn't keep the secret any longer. It doesn't matter now. What matters is the seething hatred I feel for my wife, and the confusing mix of pain and resentment I feel toward the boy I once called my son. I'm just trying to move forward, hoping the divorce goes smoothly. We've kept our finances and properties separate, so that shouldn't be an issue. And if she tries to come after me for child support, I have the proof that he's not mine. My lawyer says I'm in the clear. My therapist advised me not to see either of them, to focus on myself and my healing. It's easier said than done, but I know she's right. The sooner I accept that this child is no longer my responsibility, the better off I'll be. But that doesn't make the heartbreak any less real.